Chapter 9 of A Negro Explorer at the North Pole, by Matthew A. Henson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 9. The Diary, February 23rd. Heavy snowfall and furious winds, accordingly intense darkness and much discomfort. There was a heavy gale blowing at 7 o'clock in the morning on February 22, and the snow was so thick and drifty that we kept close to our igloos and made no attempt to do more than feed the dogs. My igloo was completely covered with snow, and the one occupied by Dr. Goodsell was blown away, so that he had to have another one, which I helped to build. The wind subsided considerably, leaving a thick haze, but after breakfast, Professor McMillan, Mr. Borup, and their parties left camp for Cape Colan to get the supplies they had dumped there and carry them to Cape Aldrich. I took one Eskimo, Puadluna, and one sledge from the captain's party, and with my own 3 boys, Ulbluya, Uta, and I forget his name, and a howling mob of dogs, we left for the western side of Cape Columbia, and got the rest of the pemmican and biscuits. On the way back, we met the captain, who was out taking exercise. He had nothing to say. He did not shake hands, but there was something in his manner to show that he was glad to see us. With the coming of the daylight, a man gets more cheerful, but it was still twilight when we left Cape Columbia, and melancholy would sometimes grip, as it often did during the darkness of midwinter. Captain Bartlett helped us to push the loaded sledges to Cape Aldrich, and nothing was left at Cape Columbia. When we got back to camp, we found Professor Marvin and his party of 3 Eskimos there. They had just reached the camp and were at work building an igloo. Professor Marvin came over to our igloo and changed his clothes, that is, in a temperature of at least 45 degrees below zero. By the light of my lantern, he coolly and calmly stripped to the pelt and proceeded to clothe himself in the new suit of reindeer skin and polar bear skin clothing that had been made for him by the Eskimo woman Alika Singwa, aboard the Roosevelt. It had taken him and his party 5 days to make the trip from Sheridan to Columbia. February 26. This from my log. Clear, no wind, temperature 57 degrees below zero. Listen, I will tell you about it. At 7 a.m. we quit trying to sleep and started the pot a-boiling. A pint of hot tea gave us a different point of view, and Professor Marvin handed me the thermometer, which I took outside and got the reading, 57 below. That is cold enough. I have seen it lower, but after 40 below the difference is not appreciable. I climbed to the highest pinnacle of the cape, and in the gathering daylight gazed out over the ice-covered ocean to get an idea of its condition. At my back lay the land of sadness, just below me the little village of snow houses, the northernmost city on the earth (Commander Peary gave it the name Crane City), and stretching wide and far to the northward, the irresistible influence that beckoned us on. Broken ice, a sinister chaos, through which we would have to work our way. Dark and heavy clouds along the horizon gave indication of open water, and it was easy to see that the rough and heavy shore ice would make no jokes for us to appreciate. About an hour or so after the midday meal, a loud outcry from the dogs made me go outside to see what was up. This was on the afternoon of February 26. I quickly saw what the dogs were excited about. With a whoop halloo, 3 komatiks were racing and tearing down the gradient of the land to our camp, and all of us were out to see the finish. Kudluktu and Arkeo an even distance apart, and heads up, tails up, a full 5 sledge lengths ahead, with snow dust spinning free, the dog team of the ever victorious Peary in the lead. The caravan came to a halt with a grandstand finish that it would have done you good to witness. The commander didn't want to stop. He immediately commenced to shout and issue orders, and by the time he had calmed down, both Captain Bartlett and George Borup had loaded up and pushed forward onto the ice of the Arctic Ocean, bound for the trophy of over 400 years of effort. The Peary discipline is the iron hand ungloved. From now on we must be indifferent to comfort, and like poor little Joe in Bleak House, we must always be moving on. End of chapter 9.